Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Metasoccer Manager YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by Kevin and Leo from BAYZ'S, a Web3 gaming DAO, and we're going to be talking about Web3 gaming, the future for the space, and Metasoccer. Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Metasoccer Manager YouTube channel. Today we're joined by Kevin and Leo from BAYZ'S, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Web3 gaming and Metasoccer. Welcome to the episode, guys. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having us on.
Amazing, man. Thanks for.
No problem. Would you mind doing a quick introduction of yourselves and what your roles within BAYZ'S is?
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and get it started. So my name's Kevin. I'm Chief of Staff here at BAYZ'S. Essentially, my job duties here is kind of act as a facilitator, be a force multiplier for our co-founders, Matt and Joel. Essentially at the moment, my focus is kind of on our US and English expansion into that market because we are, regionally located in Brazil and Latin America, and we have a very strong presence there. But a little bit about myself, my background. I come from the mobile gaming in the esports industry. Got my start as a player for Cloud9 for a game called Rules of Survival. It's really a small title. I was actually completely lucky that they even decided to enter that scene and pick up some players, and I was one of those, mainly because of my success in the game. I had just won like a regional championship there. I was also a kind of a mover in the space as a grassroots advocate for the esports scene and kind of got that kicked off. But I had a lot of success there, won some regional championships, qualified for the world finals, which unfortunately never took off. But through that entire experience, my teammates, they were content creators. Made a bunch of videos on YouTube, and just through proxy, I kind of got introduced to that scene, which I knew absolutely nothing about. Through the connections at Cloud9 and my teammates, I was introduced to our co-founder, Mobile Matt, where essentially he took me under his wing as my mentor, kind of introduced me to the business end of esports, where I was introduced like to the startup world, the marketing side, the agency side, and then also I continue to dabble with my teammates in the system and their content creation as well. And so it's kind of like a natural evolution. In mobile gaming, I think there's a lot of overlap there because a few years ago, this was all in 2018, in 2019, mobile gaming had a fight kind of for legitimacy, the same way that I feel like Web3 is kind of tackling right now.
Yeah.
And so a lot of overlap there. When it comes to Web3, I've always just kind of been interested, in decentralization, some sort of like autonomy, removing rights from like, say, large companies or shareholders into the individuals participating in the ecosystem. So I've always had an interest there. I'm not like a big tech guy on the Web3 end. I'm more like on the marketing end is kind of like where I specialize in. So that's a little bit about me. I'll keep it like very short, just for the sake of the length of the show, and then I can pass it off to Leo.
Perfect, man. Yeah. About me, I'm Leo, and I'm Brazilian. And in BAYZ'S, I'm the head of gaming. So everything that concerns to gaming, the operations, every game we're in, everything goes by me. So I have to organize it, to see our assets, how they work the best, and make everything work towards it. And besides that, on Web2, when I started, I have a background similar to Kevin because I started on the mobile scene too, but I started with Clash Royale on towards of, I think, 2017. I started on the pro scene there. I was a coach/manager with Pain Gaming, a Brazilian brand, Brazilian org, and we played like the major tournaments. We went to the US to live in Los Angeles to play the biggest championships on Mexico too. So me and a bunch of guys like living there, figuring out, playing the liquid complexity, the biggest orgs. It was so much experience. And then after that, I played with the Brazilian national team too in Clash Royale. We ended up being world champions there on Clash Royale. And after all of that, the COVID came, the tournaments ended, and I started creating content too. I was partnered with Supercell, so I did I think over a year and a half creating content, doing championships, covering it, casting, commenting, doing a bit of everything. So yeah, it was when I started, when I also met or mobile met. He was one of my competitors. I beat him, he beat me, and we ended up having a barbecue, and everything was all right. So I made a friend there, and yeah, when BAYZ came up, I was one of the first employees there here, and yeah, I'm here ever since, and willing to conquer a lot of things together.
Cool. So you're both really really heavily involved in the esports scene, and now Web3, I guess. Bit of an obvious transition at the minute, I guess, with how things are going. I think a lot of people are coming over from the esports world, aren't they? Seems like quite a simple changeover, but I think there's obviously differences between the two as well, isn't there? So
yeah, absolutely.
For anyone that isn't aware, can you just give us a quick rundown on BAYZ'S? What is it? How did it come about? What are your long-term goals? What games are you playing currently, and where are you having the most success?
Yeah, for sure. I can start off, and then Leo, if you want to maybe speak on the gaming end, I think you might be a little bit more knowledgeable there. Yeah, so BAYZ'S, Web3 company that we got started in 2021, really as a guild. We wanted to really, be community builders and get people connected to Web3, specifically in gaming and specifically in the Brazilian region. So initially we started, with helping by purchasing a lot of, the NFT assets to act as holders for scholars in various different games. I know Axie was like one of the first ones that we launched in. This is all in 2021. I think it was around September. I joined in January. So anyways, we were, doing the scholarship model for a little bit, but obviously the scene has evolved. It went from like play and earn, which is kind of like a touchy, I guess, phrase at this moment. It's really evolved a lot. The scene's matured, and so we've had to mature along with it. So we kind of went from that guild model, and now we're acting more as like as a publisher, marketer, and then we also have a talent agency side as well, where we have creators. I want to say our reach is 140 million fans across all our platforms and creators. So pretty large reach. But now our focus is definitely like on the marketing end, publishing. We are partnered with people like the Sandbox, where we're acting as the Sandbox Brazil, responsible for all their user acquisition and any sort of campaigns associated with that. So that's a lot of fun, obviously. But yeah, we're definitely more focused now on like the B2B and development and to surface a lot of these games and products that people are working in. One cool thing about Web3, and especially in these early stages, is there's just not a lot of games out yet, and so it's a really good opportunity for us to work in a long-term capacity with a lot of these developers and these games and these communities, and that's really where we want to cement ourselves and build like a strong foundation as this scene matures. And so that's kind of like where our focus is now. See if there's anything else I'm missing here. I think that pretty much covers the basics there. And then Leo, if you want to speak to like what games specifically we're involved in, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin defined very well our moment right now and our background. But besides that, we are also fully invested in some games that we partnered up for the last year, and so and we are like over 10 titles, I think, right now. And of course, much of them didn't launch yet, so we are like awaiting. But right now, we are like on Metasoccer, of course, Genopets, Fancy Birds, RKL, Big Time, Futium, Monkey League. So like a lot of games, and some of them, as I said, didn't launch. But we are fully focused on like making the best operation in every single game that launches. That as soon as we get the asset, we go and find out how it works the best. We make a core team, a staff team, specialize in the game we're in. So every single game we're in have a different crew, have a different game leader, so we can make the best decision around there. But yeah, I think right now we over 10 titles. Some of them like already launched, some didn't, and some are doing better than others. But overall, that's it.
Yeah, I think at the minute there's probably very few games which are, you know, on the up. There's a few which are sort of pedaling along and keeping going, which in this market is obviously really, really impressive at best. But I think, yeah, there's a few which they're building, and there's so much potential in those teams and those games that it's just a matter of time before they take off. And a lot of them are, well, I think within the next year, 2 years, are going to be hitting sort of mainstream sort of audiences. I think, you know, a few you mentioned there, Pets, Metasoccer, obviously got big followings already, and are still developing, still working out how they work, I guess, and still developing the economies and all things like that. What's the sort of total number of? I know you're moving away from the scholar model, like you said. How many scholars do you currently have at BAYZ at the minute? Though, is it like a number you're continuing to grow, or is it something you are completely moving away from? You sort of settled with the number of scholars you have.
I mean, it depends, because for example, on Metasoccer right now, we can support on our structure over 800 scholars, but what would that mean? It will mean that we would have to give each scholar a single team.
Yep.
But would they play for a single team? That's a different question, because in the current situation of the market, we have a lot of times to multiplicate, for example, duplicate, triplicate the accounts of the teams a scholar have, you know. So it lowers the number of the total amount possible. But right now we still have like a pretty good number of scholars, over 500, 600, but like it could support a lot more, you know, due to this the market situation. But yeah, like and besides the market situation, we have a lot of wait lists, you know, a lot of names on the wait list on Metasoccer, on Genopads, on the games they already launched. And I'm sure the new games that are like coming, for example, Monkey League, big time. A lot of people in our community are like willing to take spots and searching out how we're gonna do it, how we're gonna take the spots, so we can like give away to the community some spots. We can raffle, we can like recruit. So besides the market, they're like plenty of good people still wanting to play.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because scholars at the minute, a lot of them, bear in mind there is a sort of a downturn in the market and the Web3 gaming as a whole. Scholars don't seem to be hard to come by at the minute. There's a lot of people who do want to get involved in these games. I think, you know, like you're saying there, you've got, you know, potentially 800 teams, so you could have 800 scholars, but I guess managing that is going to be a nightmare in itself, having 800 different people requesting new players and looking for different tactics. It's probably good that you'll find, you know, a lot of information coming back your way, but managing 800 different people, managing 800 different teams is going to be a big challenge, I guess. I think for me, I think we're all sort of, I've got quite a lot of teams. I delegate quite a few through a Discord I have and things. But only to a very small number, mainly of friends, just because it's easy to keep in contact and, you know, manage the teams and manage the players that way. I think 800 teams. I know I see you quite frequently on them leaderboards, and it makes sense why now. You probably always got multiple teams in my divisions.
Yeah.
What games are you currently? I mean, obviously you got involved in Metasoccer very early, I guess, buying youth scouts and things. What other games have you been in from the get go, which you're currently sort of in the process of launch or getting towards that sort of stage? Is there any you're really excited about?
Sure. Genopads, for example, is one of them. Is the move to earn mechanic that already launched. We have a good operation there. We are the most efficient guild there, and the top 3 in harvesting key. That's the token of the game, and it's very interesting, the game itself. Besides that, we are like looking forward to the launch of RKL, to the Influence launch as well. It's a space game, like for example, similar to the, I forgot the name of the other one. Kevin, do you remember the space game, the big one? Star Atlas.
Yeah.
To that one. Besides that, we also have the deployment of Monkey League. That's also a football game that Brazil. I don't even have to to mention the power of the sport here. But yeah, man, like a lot of games that they're dropping, they were really looking forward to opening there too.
Yeah. How do you go about finding these games? Because I mean, just a few you've just mentioned there, and obviously I'm aware of quite a lot of them, but there seems to be a lot which you're involved in, which I haven't particularly heard of myself. And there's always so many games floating around the space. How do you go about identifying, which ones are the ones with the best teams, the ones with the best prospects, and the ones that you want to get involved with on that ground floor and buy the assets early? How does that process work?
It's a good question, because we have a specialized team on that, because we all know on Web3 we can have a lot of scams, a lot of red flag projects. So we, as a guild and as a very serious guild, that we cannot do big mistakes, because we cannot do mistakes, because every mistake will be big, because we're like involving a community, involving a country, and we cannot do that. So we have a specialized team willing to looking for new projects, and the projects that are already on. So they all talk to the developers, see their background, see the crypto, the tokenomics behind it, the landmarks they wanted to achieve, the project, like every single feature, the update. So every detail is hardly considered, strongly considered. Like every single detail matters, because we all know on Web3 we can have also reflex projects, but also the very similar projects. So we have to differ one to another, so we can know where to invest and put our money, because it can be a very tricky task to do.
Yeah, I think just from looking at certain things, sometimes I see things come up with cool trailers, loads of followers, and then you dig a bit into the background that you're like, I'm not 100% on this one. I'm gonna avoid it. And sometimes you miss good ones, sometimes you miss the scams. So it is a tricky business when you do it. But I guess if you've got a lot of people, a lot of experienced people from the Web3 world who have seen so many projects coming through, so many projects which then develop, they've then got that experience to sort of make a good judgment call on what's going to be, something that might take off, and what's going to be something that probably is a bit dangerous to get heavily invested in from BAYZ's point of view. Exactly. I guess that brings me on to my next question then. Metasoccer, how did you find it? What got you interested in it, and what are you currently enjoying most or looking forward to?
Metasoccer was one of the first big projects we entered, back on last year. I think was towards October, November.
It was April, I think, when we launched our official partnership with them.
Perfect. I think on November and October was when the deal was closed, I think. Last year, I mean. And it was right in the moment it caught our attention, because it was like a football game, a new layer of the Web3, because we didn't have back then a product like that. And as I mentioned, in Brazil, and Brazil is our main, one of our main focus of the community, and it was a huge catch, because for everything they launched on their white paper, everything that they planned, the team behind it was a pretty good team that made us comfortable. And we talked to them a lot of meetings, a lot of business talk, a lot of seeing how they were looking for the project, looking for the future, their partnerships too, like Ronaldinho, for example, big players, big leagues, every single detail counted. And we closed the deal. We were one of the biggest guilds there. I think the biggest one, by the way. And since we enter, we're willing to conquer every championship they have, every tournament they make. You know that every ranking you look, they're like us there. And it answers as the second question too, that one of the things we like the most is exactly that, the competitiveness, the tournaments, the marketing behind it. So the PvP that's launching right now. So this new moment, we're really looking forward to see everything that will drop, the fully product version, So every single thing behind it, beside it, it really sparked us.
Yeah. I mean, like you just mentioned there, Ronaldinho in itself was just massive. Like just one of the things where he came out was just like how have this team managed to get this massive, football icon to sign up. I think, one of the other little bits that, Vasco da Gama signing up on as a shirt sponsor as well. That was just huge for. I think they were, one of the first projects I knew of that had gone out and actually real life sponsorship of a football team, a real football players. So you got Martinez and all the other players which they've got involved in things. It's just that they're huge steps for bringing people from Web2, but also publicizing the team to Web3 people as well. They see like these people associated with the project and they realize this is actually the real deal. This is, you don't go out and get these people attached if you're not serious about the game you're developing and the community you're trying to build and the sort of real football links, I guess, to real world football, but also this new sort of football management simulator game, which is also got different aspects to it, like youth scouts, finding players, training, like all these things that are done in like a slightly different way, which is just really interesting, I think. And it's going to attract a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
How do you guys see Web3 games and I guess BAYZ developing over the next few years? I know obviously we talked a little bit about needing to mature and, maybe pivot a little bit from guild models, but obviously things are on a bit of a down at the minute. People are probably pulling back them riskier investments like NFTs, like Web3 games, etc. How do you see things developing over the next 6 months, 12 months?
I'd like to start on this one, honestly. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I have some thoughts for sure. Like you said, the seems maturing. It's definitely getting away from, at least in the gaming space, it seems like it's pulling away from more from the NFTs or digital collectibles, whatever term you want to use now. And the developers are becoming very serious about like their products and making sure that the games are actually fun. That's why like in the next like Q1, Q2 of next year, I'm really excited to see these games that are playable, that have some sort of gameplay loop that is attractive to gamers, and like you don't even have to be attached to like the Web3 side of the game at all if you don't want to. And it looks like a lot of developers are, I don't know if they're pivoting that way, but I think their go-to-market strategies will actually like center around that. So I'm really excited about that, but at the same time, I would love to see how these Web3 developers are integrating the Web3 tech into their games to make it an easy onboarding experience for people that are not native to Web3 or have no experience or not even familiar with the world at all. And so I think, from an onboarding perspective, if you really want mass adoption in your game, I think that will just be a crucial component to make that onboarding process smooth and seamless. I mean, luckily we're seeing these big initiatives between like Reddit. I know Polygon just announced a partnership with Meta and Instagram, where you can, trade and maybe even create digital collectibles on the platform, which is massive. It's going to be, hopefully a smooth transition and integration, from like the Web2 space and Web3 and, to the average consumer. I think there really won't be any sort of like a light switch moment where it's like, oh, now it's just a Web3 world. It'll just continue on like, the internet was integrated into society. So
yeah, slow progression, then just into mass adoption, and then it just grows and snowballs until it's just accepted as part of culture, I guess. Yeah.
And another key point, which I think I mentioned, but the games have to be fun, right? There's a lot of games that are being pumped out that there's all kinds of games. Everybody likes to play different things. I totally understand that. It doesn't have to be a AAA game to become massive and popular. But at the end of the day, the games have to be fun. If developers are really leaning and depending on like some tokenomic ecosystem to keep their game afloat, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, no, there has to be some sort of engaging factor where people want to click on and play that game for free, whether it's building a team or like battle mode or whatever it is, some sort of thing that drives people to play it rather than just click to earn, things. I think one of the main parts about Metasoccer, which is sort of intriguing to me, is the team probably realizes because they've gone so quickly to develop this game and get this game out and play, and you can use your assets. up until now, there has been like a click to earn feel to it, where you can't manage your team. You set your team up, you set your tactics, the game plays, and you get a result. And I think one of the things that's really getting pushed by Gus, Mark and the rest of the team is this needs to be developed. And we are doing that development to get the engagement where people can click on, they'll get a team for free, they'll build it and they'll want to play because the game's enjoyable. And that's like the first step. And I think you're right, that's got to be key for any game really. I think the one thing that's probably holding that back at the minute is, like we're saying, the games don't have to be AAA games to be that sort of engagement. But I think the space and the users at the minute are so impatient in that a AAA game, like you've got Call of Duty getting created by a big, massive company who have hundreds and hundreds of employees and developers dedicated to it. I think every Call of Duty game takes 4 years to make. I know they release one every year, but they're working on that game for 4 years, 3 years, whatever it is. And at the minute, it feels like people are buying into a game. The game isn't developed instantly, and it's sort of like, this takes too long. But the thing is, we're coming in here at the start, and we've got this long road to get to that AAA game, to get to that fully developed game. And we're only at the first step of that now. I think it's the patience, but how do we keep people engaged until that point comes where you've had the time to develop the game? I think that's going to be the key bit, because it's a time game. You can't make something good. You can't make something good quickly for a reasonable amount of money. If you have unlimited resources and you want it done really quickly, you can probably get it done quite well. But if you want something done well, you've got to invest that money, you've got to invest the time. And I think that's just going to be something which people have to get accustomed to. If you want to be early into these games, you like an idea of something, you have to be patient. You have to have the patience to wait and let the team develop it and become what you expect it to be, or what they've promised to deliver through white papers and things, but on realistic timescales. And I think that's really key, because everyone wants a fun game. Everyone wants a game they can click on and play, where they can own the assets and they can potentially make money and whatever else. But that doesn't come overnight. And I think we'll probably be looking personally, and like when we get to another 12 months down, like 18 months, 2 years, where these teams which have continued to build, have invested the money correctly, have employed the correct devs, and all these other things, we'll start seeing these games coming out which are competing in engagement, in quality with Web2 games, and it's just waiting for that moment.
Yeah. The Web3 gaming scene, it's just so young at this point. A lot of the games we're going to see in the early stages are similar to what we're seeing now. Stuff that's built into the browser. Games that aren't incredibly immersive, like Star Atlas. I'm not sure if y'all have seen any of the gameplay that they've launched there, but that's an immersive experience, and that takes a long time to build out. And so in the early stages, we are going to see, especially like mobile games, like mobile games that have like Web3 features. I think that will be some of the first ones to gain a lot of traction, because they're a little bit easier to develop than those AAA like immersive experience games. And I think that's just what we're going to see early on. But like I said, Q1, Q2 next year, expect to see like an intermediate between like the immersive experience and like the I don't want to say like low effort development or anything like that, because I know it's difficult, but something that's less immersive to something that's more immersive.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right though. That doesn't need to always be the immersive games to get people going. You look at like mobile games like Flappy Bird. How many people were going crazy over Flappy Bird just because it was like, I don't even know. It was just had you engaged and wanting to play and like wanting to get to the next level and whatever else.
It was hard, man.
What's that thing?
The Fancy Birds is exactly like Flappy Birds, as you mentioned. Like Fancy Birds, we have the operations there too. It's exactly like Flappy Birds on a browser.
Yeah. It's just one of the things. It's just like say people were invested in different things and want to play different games. I think the main ones are obviously always one people remember, but there are simple games out there at the minute which probably exist, which probably can get more people involved in them. It's just getting that. I think we are in such a small bubble, this Web3 world at the minute, aren't we? It's just cracking out of that and getting outside and getting more people. I think with the bad press that's come through, NFTs and things, it's sort of been difficult to transition into that. But realistically, the technology and the foundation of it is good, and if when people start realizing that and it starts getting utilized correctly, people will turn and they'll say, well, no, actually, okay, the bad press it had, or whatever I had about this in the first place, I will try it. And that's when we get that transition into mass adoption and stuff. But yeah, no, it's really good to hear from you guys, and I'm really interested to see how you get on in PvP, and I'm sure our teams will be meeting up at some point. So I won't wish you luck, but it'll be good to see you.
I wish you luck, because you need it.
I've got some strong teams. I've got some good teams. I've been building them for a while now, so we'll see how we get on. But thank you very much, guys, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man. It was a lot of fun.
Likewise, man. Count us in.